Hey, this is Carlos Cavallo. Welcome back. Today we're talking about 6 guys that you shouldn't date. This is part 1 of a 2-parter, and believe me, you're going to want to stick around for both of them. Dating, as I'm sure you know, is a mixed bag. Guys come in all shapes and sizes, and sometimes you get the occasional dud. Now, you've probably dated a handful of guys, and enough guys anyways, to know firsthand. If you're getting more bad experiences than good, well, maybe it's time to take a step back and look at what you should be avoiding when you're out there dating. More than likely, you're a victim of patterns. Bad dating patterns meaning, well, just dating the same kinds of guys, the wrong types of guys who aren't ready to be in a relationship. Now, as a guy, I'm naturally inclined to tell you that we're not all bad. Trust me, we're not. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't exercise a little bit of caution and avoid trouble whenever you can. Now, that being said, there are 6 types of guys that I want you to avoid out there. First of all, don't date this guy. Number 1 is Shady Steve. Okay, does talking to him feel like a court procedure, like he's giving you all these safe and very comfortable and very closed-off answers, very indirect answers that don't really give you an answer? Well, that could be a very big red flag. If he's being evasive, it usually means that, well, you can't be entirely sure of what's going on in his personal life, and he's not being forthcoming. Now, don't confuse this with a typical guy who chooses to be a bit quiet at the start. Yeah, we're all like that, but men, we usually don't give away everything because we find that we don't want to turn you off with something or freak you out with something too early on. However, it's a different story if you've already gone past the point of being friends and he's still hesitant to share the other parts of himself with you. Here's a little tip. To find out if he's the elusive type, try bringing up something he did recently. Like maybe he went on an out-of-town trip or something that, well, you could easily and casually ask him about. His personal life, maybe his current or his previous work. Now, see if he reacts defensively about that, or if he refuses to cough up any real details. If he's acting this way with a fairly neutral question, well, guess what happens when you ask him something a little bit more serious? Look, we all know the importance of honesty. Really, it's mostly because I've had to remind a lot of women that I feel the necessity to restate this fact. Chalk it up to denial, I guess, but we all seem to overlook those things that might be a red flag. If you're starting to see a pattern of white lies, well, this could lead him into hiding bigger stuff from you later on. Besides, would you really want to connect with somebody who you can't even trust? You can't trust to give you the straight dope on who he is? Next guy to avoid is Corporate Carl, aka the workaholic. You know this guy? Any man who's worth your time knows that he's got to be motivated and engaged with his life if he wants a woman to take him seriously. In other words, as guys, we don't want women to think that we're losers. But you also have to watch out for the guy who's on the opposite end of the spectrum. Okay, he's not a slacker or an underachiever, he's an overachiever. And as attractive as this go-getter guy might be, you probably want to think about it twice if he's practically married to his job. You'll notice that he has that nervous, frantic energy about him. If he's not attached to his phone, checking his email or his texts, he can't stop talking about work constantly. Now, he might not realize it himself, but a guy like this is usually unavailable to be in a relationship. Then again, he might be 100% aware that he's unavailable and he's just looking for a casual, no strings attached arrangement. Either way, that's probably not what you're looking for. You don't want to get involved with somebody who derives his identity or his self-worth from what he's doing for a living. I'm waxing a little philosophical here, but we are not our jobs and we are not our paychecks. So take note if he's lacking that sense of work-life balance, because his intense devotion to his job is going to get in your way. He's likely to have very little room for a relationship, let alone the quality time that he needs to spend with you to create it. Corporate Carl simply won't give you the attention you desire, so know in advance that this guy is not just trying to play hard to get. Pass on this guy. Number 3 is Triggered Tim. He's also known as Mr. Fatal Attraction. When it comes to relationships, emotional stability is a non-negotiable for me, as it should be for everybody, and that's what I'm trying to teach you. However, I'm not talking about the occasional freak out, because we all have that. What you need to keep an eye out for is when a guy seems to have the habit of blowing things out of proportion. Does he regularly fly off the handle for something petty? Does he just blow his lid at the very slightest of infraction? If you're not sure, here's some little signs you could consider. Maybe he lays into the barista for messing up his coffee one day, or if he's treating minor annoyances as a personal attack on him and he loses his cool with it, you got to proceed with caution, especially when a guy mistreats a waiter or something like that. Basically, that's showing you a guy that doesn't show other people the same consideration as himself. Is this the kind of guy that gets all fired up because other guys notice you? Well, I've had to talk to many women and talk them out of basically bad relationships where their partner couldn't stand the thought of them interacting with the opposite sex. Now, don't take it lightly when a guy gets super possessive. Sometimes it seems flattering, but very often what happens is this guy turns into a control freak. And the worst part is that this behavior trickles down into the other parts of the relationship. If he's unreasonably jealous, don't be surprised if he wants to know your whereabouts every single minute of the day. And you'll know this because of the barrage of texts, emails, and voicemails you get. And this type of guy also tends to be a control freak because he's interested in sealing the deal before another guy can come along and take you away from him. So what does that tell you? He's insecure. So he'll do anything he can to make sure he knows where you are at all times and who you're with. The best way to weed out a guy like this is by trying a little radio silence. See what he does after you minimize communication with him for a couple of days or so. If he starts flooding you with his "where are you" messages, well, you know what to do, right? Triggered Tim he's easily a stalker wannabe, and he's not the kind that's going to make you feel loved, and definitely not a flattering kind of guy to have around. Now stay tuned for the next video where I'm going to show you the other 3 guys that you shouldn't be dating, and a little bonus for you. That's right, I'm going to show you the guys you should be dating. Granted, it just takes a little bit of practice to spot these warning signs about guys and avoid them. It does help to know about them as early as you possibly can. But here's a thought. What if you could read a guy inside out, not just the red flags? You could quickly figure out whether or not he really feels for you, whether he's really in love with you. It's a great position to be in, and I've actually got a little program to help you understand that and know what a man's hidden signals are and if he's got an agenda. Once you find out where he stands with you, you can then take the next step with him and not worry that you're walking into a minefield. Go on over to datingadviceguru.com/read his signals. That's datingadviceguru.com/read his signals. You can learn my secret techniques for how to read a guy and know exactly where he's coming from. Be talking again soon. This is Carlos Cavallo from datingadviceguru.com.